More than $1 billion CBI sales in 4 days. Yes, we did have foreign currency auctions this week. All eyes will be on Monday to see if they continue or do not continue. It's coming. I have a lot of intel that I can't tell you about. Keep the faith. It's coming by the end of the year. The budget is going to expose everything that we've been waiting for. Question: will we be taxed on this exchange? Marks: I am still told no, but I have set aside funds to cover it just in case. Government advisor: Iraq seeks to establish sovereign wealth fund. There are many currencies around the world with weak exchange rates. An increase in the exchange rate is never a random act, it's a reflection of a country's success and economic growth. Encouraging Iraq to succeed and prosper is the only way to increase value. All we care about is the stopping of the auctions, and when, they still say auctions will end by the end of the month. Mr. Sami says when they end the auctions and everyone goes back to work on the 2nd of January, the rise of the dollar will be very closely watched by us here at the banks. If it starts to get out of hand by the 7th when Parliament votes, then he doesn't see any other move but to increase the dinar. That's the only way. Iraq has a way out. Parliamentary finance, financial digital transformation will eliminate corruption and money laundering. They are paving the road and laying the groundwork to changing the value of the dinar. Didn't I tell everyone years ago that Iraq is going to be a central hub for the Middle East? Let me correct myself in saying it is now a central hub, only it is not yet fully geared up and running to its potential. 85 docking stations for freight ships at the port of 4, and only 5 are now open. Imagine when all 85 slips are operational. The amount of freight that will flow through this port of 4. There's no indication out there at all, nothing being said that indicates the Iraqi dinar is going to increase in exchange value. But there is talk about exchange. Suspension of the dollar transfer platform by the Central Bank of Iraq is a big deal, but no, that doesn't mean they're going to change your exchange rate. A different scenario. Washington Post: Baghdad will request that US forces remain in Iraq. Mr. Sami, the key here will be when the auctions stop, and we feel like it will be either the 28th or the 29th. The dollar may jump up some due to traveling at this time, but soon we should see the lower notes and the new rate. Within days, business confused with the dollar exchange rates expected to rise in parallel market. Businesses are trying to figure out how to price things. The government created a committee to address how to reprice things for sudden value changes. We did hear from a group of very informed individuals that are part of this process. They're part of the release. They said the release is coming very shortly. What does it mean? Well, in this case, it means a couple of days. Releases are coming very shortly, it's coming. What I've heard since then, and these were extremely valuable people that were bringing this to us. The highest of the high, we are looking for a green light from Treasury / Wells Fargo to release this to us over the next couple of days. Let's see what happens over the weekend. We at point now that we expect Iraq give us a speech at any time now. Iraq Stock Exchange ranks first in the Arab world in trading volume for November. What are Iraqis waiting for after the news of the sudden suspension of the dollar sale platform by the central bank? That is a big deal, by the way. They've been talking about stopping the auctions for quite some time. This is their way of getting away from the dollar altogether, and by doing so allow them to win the international community. This is going to eliminate a lot of the criminality. I am hearing rumors from groups attached to Indian nations that they are being told to prep for imminent release. It could be within days. Similar mechanism are being reenacted to when Kuwait RV'd. Some Indian nations did very well when Kuwait revalued. This has me really excited. The Vietnamese dong has explosive potential emo based on that the world will now slowly turn more and more towards Vietnam for the things that they used to get out of China. That evidence has already been displayed in the last 6 years in their economy. If you went to Vietnam today, you'd think you were in Dubai. We're going to keep our eyes peeled for 4805, which is the Ministerial Council of Justice numbering system which talked about the federal budget. We haven't seen that opened yet for 2024, but we see that it's printed. We don't know exactly what the contents are. We're hoping the new exchange rate is within it. The Iraqi Ministry of Finance revealed on Sunday that the size of revenues in the federal budget during 10 months exceeded 124 trillion dinars, while an economic expert considered that the excessive dependence on oil may expose the country to economic fluctuations. Shafaq news agency followed the data and tables issued by the Ministry of Finance in December of this year for 10 months starting from January until October of the current fiscal year, which showed that the revenues from oil decreased slightly to 88%, but it still constitutes the main resource for the general budget, indicating that the rentier economy is the basis of the country's budget. The financial tables indicated that the total revenues for 10 months of the current year amounted to 124 trillion, 659 billion, 47 million, 830,000, and 362 dinars, indicating that the total advances amounted to 18 trillion, 74 billion, 75 million, 887,000, and 751 dinars. According to the tables, oil revenues amounted to 110 trillion, 220 billion, 945 million, and 501,000 dinars, which constitute 88% of the general budget, while non-oil revenues amounted to 14 trillion, 438 billion, 778 million, and 884,000 dinars, which constitute 12% of Iraq's general budget. For his part, economic expert Mohammed Al-Hossani said in an interview with Shafaq news agency, this excessive reliance on oil will expose the country to macroeconomic fluctuations, and will limit any opportunity to develop policies to confront expected fluctuations. He added, Iraq needs to raise growth rates in the non-oil sector in order to absorb the shocks of oil prices when they decline, indicating that in order to reduce dependence on oil, a major adjustment of the public financial situation is required based on increasing non-oil revenues, reducing current spending, and reviewing the customs tariff structure. In March 2021, the Prime Minister's advisor for financial affairs, Mazhar Mohammed Saleh, confirmed in an interview with Shafaq news agency that the reasons for the economy remaining rentier are due to the wars and the imposition of an economic blockade on Iraq during the past era, and the political conflicts we are witnessing today, which led to the dispersion of economic resources. The continued reliance of the Iraqi state on oil as the sole source of the general budget puts Iraq at risk from global crises that occur from time to time due to the impact of oil, which makes the country turn every time to cover the deficit through borrowing from abroad or domestically, which thus indicates